Joining us now is Johathan Ernest. He's an assistant economics professor at Case Western Reserve University. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's start with the EU, who's delaying retaliation tariffs until August 1st. Tell us about how that could be strategic for them.
Yeah, so we've seen over the last several months of the Trump administration a lot of kind of threatening of tariffs on again, off again in order to motivate some negotiations. Recently, the EU was kind of working under the assumption that right around now, Bastille Day, July 14th or so, was going to be a deadline in which we would need to have some sort of retaliatory tariffs in place on their end to kind of fight back against some of the tariffs that we were threatening against their goods. But now that the Trump administration has announced this extension to August 1st, the EU has taken that as a sign that there are a few more weeks to get those negotiations in, hopefully lower these tariff threats on both sides so that we can get to a more free trade kind of world where things aren't so costly being increased in price from having these tariffs levied on all sorts of products being traded between the US and the EU.
Feels like so many of us have fatigue over this back and forth. Even Wall Street seems to not be taking some of this as seriously as it did on Liberation Day back just a few months ago. What kind of legal challenges do you think these new tariffs may face?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we're seeing with Wall Street, just to on that point for a second, is that it's not necessarily that tariffs are less burdensome than we otherwise thought they were. It's that there's less idea that these tariffs may go into effect at as large of a scale, so they may be less painful for companies and for consumers in the US. And so I think a lot of the kind of muted response is based on the fact that these threats have been kind of put in place and delayed over time. In terms of a legal basis, it really will depend. So we've seen a lot of different types of tariffs thrown out for a lot of different reasons for a lot of different countries to be potentially put into place. There's likely more legal basis. I'm not a lawyer per se, but likely more legal basis when you're putting tariffs in place on specific items for things like national security purposes. So tariffs levied on things like steel and now being potentially levied on, say, copper, for instance, maybe have pretty solid footing in terms of national security purposes, where we don't want other nations to fully take over production of those type of materials if we may need to support our defense industries at a later date, things like that. Other broad-based tariffs, it really depends on what negotiations we've had in place before, what trade agreements we've already had in place, and whether we're running afoul of those, whether we're canceling those entirely or whether we're trying to renegotiate them. But we do have trade agreements in place with many nations around the world, and in many cases that's to prevent these sort of hiking of tariffs without much consideration for exactly how much or what reasoning is being given. So I think that will kind of stand the test of the courts if these tariffs do go into place. But a lot of these tariffs have continued to be pushed off for months at a time. Right. And so now we're seeing sort of this fatigue, as you mentioned, where people aren't quite sure if these are really being threatened if they go into place or where we may end up eventually.
Johathan, you just mentioned the U.S.'s many trading partners. What does these new tariffs send a message to our other trade partners?
Yeah, so I think that nations around the world are finding that they want to come to the table and negotiate to maintain good relations, because having gains from trade, producing things where it's most efficient, is beneficial for both parties in the case of trade. So, having tomatoes that are grown less expensively in Mexico and then brought into the U.S. without tariffs is a lot cheaper than figuring out how to grow those tomatoes much more expensively in new places in the U.S. We would have been doing that otherwise. So I think that one thing countries are realizing is they want to be at the table to kind of keep this trade going, but at the same time, they're realizing that these tariffs are being put in place, or at least threatened to be put in place, for a variety of reasons. Sometimes with the argument of balancing trade deficits, sometimes with the argument of national security purposes, and with countries like, say, Brazil, there was the argument that, well, we have a trade surplus with Brazil, and so it's not necessarily for that reason, but we're threatening this large tariff on Brazil as well. And so I think it's a little bit confusing for a lot of nations to know what policies they might be able to put in place or what negotiations they might be able to have. to limit the effect of these tariffs on both them and on the U.S. and other countries around the world. And it may motivate them to start looking for other nations to trade with a little bit more intensely if the U.S. is potentially shutting down some of these trade routes with prohibitively high tariffs.
Yeah, there's so many potential impacts. Johathan Ernest, thank you so much for being with us this morning to talk about them.
Wonderful talking with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.